Can they hear me? Can they hear me live out there? Next beat. That ain't the beat I wanted to.
Those was wood
another
beats
beat.
right
Another
there.
beat.
You know?
Nope. Give me another beat. Give me another beat. Nope. That's not it. That's the beat. Turn it up.
Oh, word.
Turn it up. I gotta hear it a little louder. Can you make it louder than my headphones? Turn me up in my headphones. I'm still stuck in the 80s/90s. Lottos, kangaroo boots, nanny ghosts, Velas, jumpsuits and troops, Junos, color Levi's, Bugs Bunny sweaters with the rhinestone ring on it. Fighting and making up the next day. Nobody getting shot. Working and hustling to get it, a get got. We had love for the streets, our family, our foes, our friends. Respect for the elderly. Pager/payphone, sneaking into Adams Theater. Watching Crush grooving tougher than leather. Hopping gates out the college port to bank out, cause you don't wanna get caught at mom's crib or at Von's crib. Eating funny dinner with the fam. Church every Sunday, 8 o'clock a.m. And even if I fell asleep in the back row or played sick, no matter what, man, I still had to go. 80s, baby. He's a DJ, I'm the rapper. He's a DJ, I'm the rapper. 80s, baby. He's a DJ, I'm the rapper.
Welcome, everybody. Sorry for the late start. We experienced some technological difficulties in there, but we are back.
We're just late getting here.
Oh, we're just late getting here. I was trying to, or that. We do what we want. We show up when we want. We start when we want. Why? Because this is the Xcast, and this is the internet. Webisode number 69Q of the Xcast, to be exact. Why Q, you ask? Because this is one of our Deep Issues specials. It's day 4952 in the search for Tim Chevelday. I'm your host, Josh Houselander.
You know I don't recognize the letters.
I know you don't recognize the letters. That's why I've really tried to, go like hardcore on it. Because anything I can do to buck authority. And who's the authority here? He's the ultimate authority. With me as always, the producer, the heart and soul, the authority here at the Empire Media. Yes. The State. Adam Hernandez. Adam the State Hernandez. Also with us this week is our Deep Issues specialist, Kyle Puska, Ed Zaharsky. How's everybody doing tonight?
Awesome.
Cool.
Great.
Cool. Ed, you got any jokes since this is episode number 69? You want to get out of your system?
I'm good for now.
Okay. All right. Right on. That's fine. That works. That works. Tonight's Deep Issue is Scientology. Now, I want to kind of start with a little bit of a waiver tonight. I don't speak for everyone on the show right away. I mean, we're all going to have our own opinions here and our own stuff, but we might as well say right now, we kind of are looking at Scientology under the guise of this is a cult and, kind of a scam, and this is not going to be a positive show about Scientology. And of the four of us, none of us here are exactly pro-Scientology. So, if we could have got us a Scientologist on the show, we would have. But
they wouldn't come
we
on.
Didn't. We did try. Perhaps we didn't try hard enough. Perhaps there isn't enough try out there to get one.
Do or do not, there's no try.
That's a good point. That's what my t-shirt says, too. So that's a really good point, dude. I don't know if you were just reading the t-shirt that was right across from you or if you were saying it. If you were saying it, it fit in perfectly right there.
Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Let's be out in the open about it. We're probably not gonna say a whole lot of positive stuff about Scientology here. We're all open-minded dudes, but if you're looking for a pro Scientology show, you probably came to the wrong spot. I must confess. So, where do you guys want to start? There's so much to talk about with Scientology. You want to start with the origins, or just want to start with our basic overview, ideas of the
I think it only
religion?
makes sense to start with the origin because we got to know what came about, right? I think Ed said it the best. Oh my God, a science fiction writer? Seriously?
Yeah, and
you know, so that is the origin. Ron Hubbard back in the 50s. Apparently, I don't even know if he was famous back then. I didn't ever find out.
He
was
was
he a
already,
good science fiction writer? I don't even know.
He was known for being looking for the right word here, a voracious science fiction writer.
So
he actually holds the Guinness Book of World Records for the most published books
for science fiction. Were they good?
People thought they were cool in the dawn of science fiction, if you will.
Okay.
He started back in the 30s. was when he started
there
writing.
was no Star Trek or Star Wars.
Yeah, no, I mean, but this was like...
But he had similar themes.
The science fiction was kind of like... He was kind of like a pulp science fiction writer, if you will. You know, his people really dug his themes, and they liked how much he pumped out the work, and he had a pretty good following because people back then... Okay, kind of off topic, I guess, but I remember reading a biographical thing about Arthur C. Clarke. I'm a huge Arthur C. Clarke fan, and I remember him saying that back in the day, way back in the day, when he was starting out, he said he actually feels bad for the new science fiction fan, because he said, because back in my day, you really could actually read every bit of science fiction that came out. You actually could, like, he's like, there was at one point for like 20 or 30 years where I had literally read every bit of science fiction that was ever made. And he said, and there's something about that was fantastic. Now there's so much science fiction, nobody could do that. It'd be impossible, which that isn't a bad thing if you love science fiction, but it kind of is on a personal level. It'd be like if you're a Star Wars fan and they released a new Star Wars movie every 5 minutes. You know, you couldn't see them all.
So what's your favorite science fiction movie?
Science fiction
or story? Yeah.
My favorite, and I'm a big science fiction fan. My favorite series is Dune, but I don't care for the movies though.
Okay.
The movie was a travesty, but the Dune series to me is absolutely epic. Dune the book is actually my favorite book. Not my favorite science fiction book, my favorite book.
Yeah, okay. I was just curious. You got one?
Not particular.
No. I like The Matrix. I thought it was nice.
Yeah,
nice
Matrix were awesome movies.
Yeah, that was a good... Still rings true, you know, kind of.
Absolutely. No, and you know that I'm a big simulation theory guy, too, so The Matrix
So, I mean, that always... You know, something that lingers has to mean something, you would think, so...
So, I guess the thing is with L. Ron Hubbard is that he wasn't known for being, like... the great science fiction writer, like, for instance, an Arthur C. Clarke. He was, I think, more known as, like, the fun science fiction writer. Like, pulp stories, aliens.
You know what I view him as a science fiction witer? You know the trashy novels? He was the trashy of the trashy.
He was.
You know, in the science fiction realm.
It was, ray guns and pointy ear science fiction.
Yeah.
You know, goofy stuff like that. That people had thought was fun. The critics that I've seen have said that his old stuff, from, you know, the 30s, even into the 60s, you know, that stuff was fun and cool and really kind of, like, inspired. Kind of fun. But his later stuff, because after he formed Scientology, he then actually went back to writing in the late 70s and 80s. And Battlefield Earth, his famous one that was that ridiculously terrible movie with John Travolta, he wrote that in 82. So, I mean, that was after he had done all this. He kind of said, I'm going to be a sci-fi writer again. And people complained about that stuff a lot and said it was kind of not creative and uninspired and just not on the level of other things. Yeah, exactly. But he's written a lot of books.
He's kind of an idiot too.
Oh, there is a lot of proof out there.
Striking similarities to another orange-head guy we know.
Yeah. I mean, the guy was a complete failure in the military.
Yeah. He had some severe mental illness as well. I mean, he was very, very.
Well, that's why he was so opposed to psychiatrists,
right?
Because he had a negative experience that told him, you know, whatever, which kind of propelled him, I guess, on his path. But you know, interestingly enough, that was his life mission.
For sure. And yeah, I mean, and Adam, we could talk about that for a second. You mentioned his military experience. He later would tell his followers a narrative about how he was a hero, a naval hero, and he was actually in the Navy.
How he sunk a Japanese sub.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he did. He used to tell them about all the heroic things he did. Truth is, he did briefly command 2 different ships. In both cases, he was removed from duty for not
like incompetence.
Right. One for, I believe, the first one, which was a pretty big ship. You know, that was a pretty good assignment, actually. Mm-hmm. He was removed from that for incompetence. But not dishonorably discharged or anything. Just removed from that position for not being able to get the job.
The Navy was embarrassed that they produced such crap.
Right. Really. So he still stayed in the Navy, and then he was put in charge of a smaller type ship. I'm not somebody that knows my naval ships well. But a smaller type ship. And that he actually did fire on something that he should not have. I believe it was in Mexican territory. Actually fired on something, and that's when they were like, okay,
you're discharged.
Yeah, never again with this guy. He never was dishonorably discharged, but he definitely was removed from duty and was never given any type of,
so he had a lot of pent-up aggression going on then.
Yeah. Those two incidents, though, especially the one where, because he fired on the Coronado Islands. That's what it was.
Okay.
And he that's after these incidents is when he began to kind of fall into a depression, and I don't want to say that's where his
it pretty much is where the foundation is.
Yes, it could be. This is where they say his quote unquote scientific breakthroughs, happen with Dianetics and so on and so forth. But this was the precursor to that, and
some of his later private writings are very revealing of what he viewed as his own failures, and him basically trying to talk himself out and reinvent a new reality where those failures were not true anymore. And some of those writings, he claimed that, according to him, that he just had this, he hated his sexual urges, and he was just obsessed with masturbation. And that were a lot of his writings, you hear over and over again him telling himself that, like, I don't need to masturbate this often. I was not a failure in the Navy. And like these things are kind of repeated over and over again. Like he's not so much convincing the world, convincing himself that, he needed to get over these issues.
Well, that's, and it's funny you say that, because I know we're going to be getting to it here shortly, but that sounds like he's kind of solo auditing himself. He's trying to, he's trying to get rid, and I had it here. I can't remember what it was called, but there's a name for those negative emotions, those negative thoughts, those negative feelings that you take on, not necessarily just in this life, but in past lives. And it sounds like that's what he was trying to do. He's trying to change that perception, change that reality, change those feelings about him, so he can
not allowing himself to be a suppressive person.
Yeah, so it
was also necessary to evolve in his mind. You have to let go of all those burdens of the body, which is
the case, Kyle, when it comes to Scientology.
Yeah,
getting rid of
taking all the guilt and all that. Yeah,
exactly. So you can in turn evolve and take that next step.
And you think you're hitting on a point that we were wondering earlier before we got on air was what is driving this to exist, and we think they're tearing you apart to your core, and then you feel grateful or embarrassed. Maybe is there a level of embarrassment that would make you not want to leave that environment because you feel too vulnerable? I don't know. Because you are vulnerable when you expose all that, right? The reality is most people don't tell anybody their everything. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It just doesn't happen. It's just not human nature. It's weird, but it's rare if it does. And I think these people strip it right down to that right away, and people don't know how to react when they're at that vulnerable level. And I think they just keep towing the line.
Yeah, no, you're right. And we're talking about his mental instability, and his mental instability and strange things that he said have become, although they love to, Scientology in its modern form loves to embrace a lot of this stuff, but it becomes a curse for them in a lot of ways, because truthfully L. Ron Hubbard in a lot of ways almost is their god. And what he said while alive is gospel to them. It cannot be.
It's red letter.
It can't be right. It can't be spoken against.
Right.
So it's tough when they find things that L. Ron Hubbard said that are really, really silly.
Well, that's why they, a lot of the times now you have a lot of splinter groups of Scientology, because a lot of those individuals believe that, what's his name? Is it? Let me get his name here. David Miscavige.
Right, the current head.
The current head who actually took over for L. Ron Hubbard when L. Ron Hubbard died I believe it was in the 80s. They a lot of them don't believe that he is living up to the true essence, the true, the root of what L. Ron Hubbard wanted Scientology to be. So they've started a bunch of splinter groups, and of course, this has pissed off David Miscavige, and he's pretty much gone out of his way in many instances to silence these people.
He's a narcissist to the nth degree, and I think he was just going for the ego.
Sure, absolutely.
That's his motivation, and unfortunately, and you're right. Here's how it all dies, right? You get splinter groups that work against him to get rid of that. Again, the similarities to our current other position, situation in life are, kind of eerie, to Scientology.
I guess they're more in tune with traditional religion.
Yeah, well, I think anytime you, maybe it's from theology, to have that the Pope or whatever, everyone just automatically thinks that person is owed respect, for their state in life, and it's just similar to these cult leaders. You know what I mean? And I think, again, it goes down to that vulnerability. I really, truly think that the people that are attracted to this type of religion, there's something missing in their life, and I think if you do a true assessment of those people, I think that's what you would find. There's a hole, there. I go back to Howard Stern. Remember in his days, he always says, these girls do what they do for a reason. It just doesn't happen. And he always said, what happened with Daddy or Uncle Steve, because he knew. And I think same with, any type of cult, people that follow these religions, however you want to call them, and I would call this a cult, is, they're missing something. And this filled that void for them. And so they go.
I've heard a lot of people, when talking about Scientology, refer to L. Ron Hubbard as, they say L. Ron Hubbard was like the Pope. Like what he said was infallible and you couldn't go against it. I actually think that's, I don't think that is actually a good comparison. To me, Miscavige is like the Pope. L. Ron Hubbard was like God.
Yeah.
That to me is a more accurate description. Miscavige is the now infallible one telling us what L. Ron Hubbard said. And so many of the things, one of the ways they make money is they make you rebuy the books you bought over and over again, because Miscavige will say, I was digging through a basement in one of L. Ron Hubbard's old places and I found some writings and they had to be added to this book. Josh, so there's an updated version. So you got to rebuy them all.
Hey, Josh, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start off with what is Scientology? I mean, what are the beliefs of Scientology? And
yeah, we can do that. And we will go back to some L. Ron Hubbard stuff too. But yeah, that's good. Let's do the origins. And this is the top secret stuff, people. This is the stuff you're not supposed to find out till you are an OT3 or higher. But, this is stuff that's actually semi-denied by the church, but we know because of whistleblowers and leakers and people who have left the faith. But the origin story of Scientology is that around 75 million years ago, there was a totally different planet. Actually, a huge system of planets.
Yeah, it was a galaxy.
Yeah, it was a system of many planets. They were very overpopulated. They had, I believe it was like 700 billion people.
Confederacy of planets?
It was like a confederacy of planets, yes. And there was about 700 billion people on each planet.
Science fiction-y.
They're very, very overpopulated. And they were led, of course, by Xenu, the galactic overlord of these areas. Xenu is something that you are not allowed to say unless you are in a secured room, if you are a Scientologist. You are not allowed to talk about Xenu. Ever. You shouldn't even know about Xenu if you are not a Scientologist, or if you are even the 80% of the low-level people in Scientology. You are not supposed to even know about Xenu, but if you do, you are never to say that name unless you are in a extremely secured room with people.
And he wasn't a good dude.
The highest rank.
Xenu was not good.
No, yeah, but one of those planets in this great confederation was Tigiak. Tigiak is Earth, but it was then known as Tigiak. And Xenu was afraid that people were trying to overthrow him, so he captured a bunch of people and he put them in volcanoes on Tigiak, and he killed them all with hydrogen bombs. Because this place they lived, by the way, 75 million years ago, they wore clothes and drove cars and had buildings that were very similar to 1950s America.
No, I think more advanced by what we
No, 1950s America is what L. Ron Hubbard says.
Okay.
That's the type of cars they drove, and that is what they had, and that's the type of televisions they had, and things such as that. They weren't like up to 2017 level, I guess, of technology. They were right at that 1950s era level. So he threw them all in volcanoes and he killed them all with hydrogen bombs, and then he made them endure terrible images, such as torture and killing and crucifixion being the main one. And this is what implants our history in the heads of these. What are they called? Oh man, I can't remember.
Thetans.
Thetans, yes, the Thetans. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it on the tip of my tongue. Thank you, Kyle. They became the Thetans, and they became spirits, and those spirits infect our bodies.
Yep.
Our bodies are brimming with Thetans, like everything in your body. Like your fingers a Thetan and your toes a Thetan and your nose.
Well, it's more like a spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of them, though. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Like everything on your body. Like each finger is a Thetan in your nose and your ears, and there's just tons of Thetans on you. And only somebody who is beyond clear can actually control the Thetans and talk to the Thetans. And
I mean, explain clear so people know what that
well,
means.
clear is what you are initially trying to achieve as a Scientologist. Is L. Ron Hubbard wrote the book Becoming Clear. That's what it's called, right? Becoming Clear?
I think so.
Being clear, becoming clear.
It's like trying to achieve nirvana.
Yeah, right. But it is much like trying to achieve nirvana in Buddhism, or just even a deep level of prayer or meditation and other ones. But clear is really just the stepping stone, because getting clear is just kind of like, that's when you're finally kind of woken up to the idea.
That's
of
when you're ready to
Scientology.
sign the $1 billion contract,
Right,
for
right.
life.
No, that comes before, actually, because that's for the Sea Org, where you are signed
That's
up
true.
for 1 billion years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we will definitely.
Or wait,
get
you have
the
to
Sea Org.
donate $1 million at this point.
This is when you're spending a ton of money, and most people can't afford to get to this level.
And that's why they don't
You can get
them.
clear, but you can't be. Then after that, you're the OT1, then OT2, up to OT8 is the true masters of Scientology. Where Leah Remini, everybody knows what she's been kind of doing. She made it to OT5.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is supposedly an 8, right?
Yeah, I think he is. If he's not there, he's damn near. He's a 7 if he's not an 8.
Mm-hmm.
Leah Remini's mother was an OT8, and she was one of the top OT8s. So this is
no longer there, by the way.
Yeah, she has left as well. She has left, and has kind of joined her daughter's crusade here to some degree, anyway, or at least has made amends with her daughter and talking with her and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But these, just to let you know, when people would talk to L. Ron Hubbard about Jesus, because a lot of people who join Scientology are Christians,
Mm-hmm.
they would talk to him about Jesus, and they at first will kind of tell you that it's okay. Oh yeah, you can keep your religion. You can join Scientology and still be a Jew, or still be a Christian, or still be a Catholic, or still be. But when you reach that clear level, that's when they start to want you to do away with that. And when L. Ron Hubbard was asked about Jesus, he said that Jesus was just a shade above clear. So he was saying that Jesus was like very
Pure.
Yeah, he was very pure and a good man, and he knew what he was talking about, and his teachings are good, but he was just a shade above clear. So when you hit clear, you're still not Jesus. But once you're at OT2 level, you are better than Jesus. You are more powerful than this Messiah that many believe to be a Messiah, but really, if you're a Scientologist now, actually you're really downplaying what the Son of God was, in essence. So not only is L. Ron Hubbard saying that he was definitely above Jesus, but that you could be too if you take the right path with Scientology, basically.
And spend the correct amount of money.
Right, right. Now, you were talking a lot, you brought up David Muscovich. I would voice an opinion about these two, about L. Ron Hubbard and Muscovich, is that I think L. Ron Hubbard, although was he devious? Oh yeah. Was he after the cash? Definitely. But I do think a lot of what L. Ron Hubbard said, did he believe it? Did he not believe it? I don't know. I do know that he was very mentally ill. Extremely mentally ill. And did he at times believe that some of this stuff was legit? Or believe his own nonsense? He may have.
I think he did.
You know, I actually think he may have. Muscovich, on the other hand, I believe is not crazy at all. I don't think he's crazy one bit. Crazy like a fox, perhaps. A complete narcissist, absolutely. But I think he is. I actually would even theorize that Muscovich was controlling this organization
When he was
several years before Hubbard died.
Probably.
I don't think Hubbard thought that.
Right.
Hubbard still thought he was running the show, but
What's a little suspicious when his wife has gone missing now for 10 years,
yeah.
not seen in public.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's not missing. She's getting.
But the cops call her, and there's people
Yeah,
that supposedly have had contact with her, but
Yeah, she's,
never public. And she was very outspoken,
Mm-hmm.
according to Leah Remini. You know, she hasn't come on the show yet that she has, but I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
they were friends.
Right.
And something happened.
That's why she eventually left. Why Leah left was that she has a million more reasons to want to leave, and she talks about how she's always had reservations about certain things, and I believe her. I do
she's the one
believe
that
her.
filed the missing persons report.
Right. She originally claimed, before she even left the church officially, said, "Hey, all I did was ask a question. Where is this lady?
Right.
You know, this is an important person in the church." And even then, like her last, the last time she was seen in public, I want to say around 2003 or something. Even then, she had been missing for quite some time, and they just kind of like brought her out and said, like, "No, see, here she is."
Yeah.
And that was well over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
It's like
is
a
she
Weekend at Bernie's type of
right?
thing.
Like,
Yeah,
is she
wow.
alive? Is she?
Did you guys watch Stranger Things?
No, we do not.
You haven't seen that show yet?
No.
No.
Anyways, you can make a fake body.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, look, blonde hair.
Right.
Yeah. Dress.
Well, and I feel like if they were willing to parade her out there in the early 2000s, but they're not even willing to do that charade now, is she even alive? You know,
I
mean,
think she's dead.
You know, and that's. But they, you know, the theory was that she was in the hole,
We know it
which
too.
is basically a little like prison they have.
in government has to be very, very careful with kind of pursuing these types of things, especially when you're dealing with compounds and in mass followings like we have in this case right now. I'm not talking so much, you know, the out in the open celebrity aspect of Scientology. I'm talking about, you know, those individuals who are trapped, or not so much trapped, but, you know, working these compounds. And obviously we saw it with the Branch Davidians back in the early 90s. And David Koresh and the disaster that was when Janet Reno went and said, you know, let's go and take this place down. And it ended up in a horrific tragedy. Yep. But I mean, we've seen this before. It hasn't just been something like the Scientologists. It's been
Jim Jones. You know.
Jim Jones is another perfect example of that. Even the FLDS, the fundamentalist Mormon sect. Yep. You know, the government has been very, very tiptoey around that, and they did end up getting the leader, the Warren Jeffs. But there's obviously always somebody else.
You know what's crazy? The origins are the same. You know, it started from some rogue people, you know.
Sure.
The original story of Scientology is fantastical, and so is the Mormons. Mm-hmm. If you know what the Mormon story, it's kind of weird
Joseph Smith,
out there, you know what I mean? But yet, here we are.
And I think that this is something that, again, you have to be very, very careful with, because based on history, based on, you know, what has obviously happened in the past, that this thing can erupt. And
the current president of Scientology is actually a former Mormon.
Oh, really?
Yeah. See?
David Miscavige?
No, Heber Gent.
Oh, he's a
David Miscavige, however you say his name. I think he has a different position.
Okay.
He's like, yeah, he's the leader. The guy you're talking about is, I believe he is, I could be wrong about this, but is he president of Global Scientology?
That might
or
be
something
MC.
along
Yeah, he
those
could be.
titles, and
David's still the queen.
and David
dude.
is the top dog. Yeah.
He's captain of the Sea Org.
Okay, yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, which
I know. Again, the fraternity aspect of this too, and there is a lot of fraternal things about this whole, all these cult type things. It's really just surrendering what you have for the cause. And
You know what though? I mean, when you look at Scientology as if you strip it down to what it bare bones was. I mean, we go back to Dianetics and having it be kind of an alternative to psychology and psychiatry, and the whole notion of getting more in touch with yourself, and
there's a lot of new age spawned from this. Believe it or not.
Yeah, mind and body. Look,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that. I mean,
I don't either.
thinking like that has been around forever, and I mean, I think that that's good for everybody. And that's very cross denominational. I mean, you don't have to be just a Christian or just a Muslim or a Jew or a Buddhist or whatever to want to become more in touch with yourself.
And you know what? I think, and maybe this is what's one of the draws.
It could
Yeah,
be.
say when
You know what I
join the
mean?
church.
Because you know what? The four of us think that that's logical.
No,
You know what I mean?
it is-
And so if you have that aspect of it, but they got us all this other fantastical crap that's tied into it.
Exactly. The problem that I have ultimately with Scientology, I mean, there's a couple of things. Obviously, the origin of it with L. Ron Hubbard basically being pissed off about, having to go through,
psychiatric treatment.
Psychiatric treatment, with his wife wanting to commit him, undergoing, the drugs and everything. And then I believe he lost the basically the rights to Dianetics, and then being spurned by the American Psychiatric Association for Dianetics, and having it become part of that. Scientology is more based on L. Ron Hubbard thinking he got screwed. That's what this all boils down to with him, is L. Ron Hubbard thinking he got screwed and then thinking he can go and profit off of it, which he ended up doing. Look, again, and that's the other problem I have with this, the way that they keep on pursuing more money out of people. And you talked about it a second ago, Josh, with the further you get up, the more money you ultimately have to spend, like with the books. And Leah Remy talked about...
Was that on air that we were saying that with the books, or was that off air?
No, that was on air. And Leah Remy talked about it. She talked about how she has a shit ton of books, yet she had to keep on buying more because they kept on getting updated versions. It's kind of like going to school and, I've got the textbook for it. Well, sorry. There's an updated version, or when you try to return it, sorry, we can't give you any money for that because it's an expired version.
It's a publisher trick, by the way.
But they've talked about individuals though, and the bridge to total clarity. I think that's what it was called, and those were the steps to becoming clear and beyond clear, and so on and so forth. Again, what you were talking about, Josh. There's been individuals who have gone through that twice over, yet they still haven't been able to totally achieve what the church says they need to achieve because the church keeps on changing it.
Yeah, well, and their vulnerabilities come out again.
Exactly.
And then they I'm not worthy.
Exactly. And then the auditing, we have to spend $400-$600 a session.
It becomes an intensive auditing session if there's any problems once you get past being clear.
Exactly. Look, and that's what this all boils down to. Look, there's nothing wrong with the basic fundamentals of getting in touch with yourself. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
It's what comes after that. It's how you ultimately
how you
achieve
use that information.
Exactly.
You know, if you're using it to help yourself, which I think that was some, you know, I think in Ron Hubbard's clarity events, that, you know, clarity moments, that was his intent. And there's some genuine, you know, aspect to that. I think that attracts people. But then it became corrupt, you know, and it diluted it.
You know what though? I don't think L. Ron Hubbard was a total. I don't think he was in this to help people or to think that this was legitimate.
I think he knew what to say in order to get people locked in.
I think he knew that,
and he knew that the message of the core of the Scientology. He knew that would be attractive.
Sure, he knew he used this to
lure them in.
To lure them in, to help sell books, to help sell, you know, this unproven method of auditing and e-meters.
Here, touch this electric fence.
Yes, I mean, all of that is unproven. In fact, the FDA raided his offices because of these practices that he had, and they made him deem this as a non-medical device when he was trying to pass it off.
All of the e-meters now have a little waiver on the back of them that says this machine doesn't actually do anything.
Yeah,
because, you know, but it's a spiritual. It's really a spiritual endeavor. Not so much, you know, it's not the machine doing it, but that's just because,
you know, science fiction's right. He kind of came up with something better than that.
Well, the thing is, and that, you know, let's be real about it too, because we're trying to talk about, okay, maybe L. Ron Hubbard was trying to do this. This is the reasons, but there is corruption at the core of this. At the very commencement of Scientology, the corruption being that this was started by people that say it was started by a science fiction author, but to put a more blunt point on that, or put a blunt or less of a point on it, basically, L. Ron Hubbard made his money or got himself famous, even if it was just semi-famous, by being a guy that made up stories, that made up really crazy stories. Mm-hmm. That's what L. Ron Hubbard was famous for.
Yeah, very similar to
Mormonism. And that's you know, what happened. And hey, you know what? You know, since this is an opinion show.
Did we know if Hubbard was a Mormon? Did he have any interactions?
No.
He may
I don't think so.
Maybe one drunken night somewhere.
Well, he could have, but I mean, that's, you know? I think it was more rooted from fantasy and fantastic stories of science fiction, really. And I don't.
It's weird because, you know, you look at him as leader. I don't consider him dynamic. He's quite ugly as a person.
Yeah.
You know, not to be rude, but you know what I mean. He's not attractive at all.
No.
And you know, it's just, and then so you know the message is greater than the messenger.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean he created a system of control, basically.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, it's
basically
it's a huge system of control.
Right. You know, kind of like, you know, throwing out fake news and stuff like that. Maybe, I don't know.
Well,
to digress. But.
Yeah, and then you brought up the corruption. I mean, it seems like what, and of course we're getting a lot of one-sided.
Mm-hmm. And hey, and what I was going to say too is, you know, listen, this is an opinion show, and I know there's people out there that would say, oh, you know, Josh is a, me, I'm talking about me, you know, that like I'm a Catholic, and the Catholics have crazy things they believe too, and the Jews have crazy things they believe too. And you know what? Maybe some people do think that, you know, like, oh, you're criticizing what L. Ron Hubbard would say, and you think Jesus is magic, you know. And I mean, it's true. I don't necessarily see it that way, but I understand that religions and faiths do have a system of faith in place that sometimes you do believe things that you can't prove. You know, that is what faith is about.
We're not classifying Scientology as a church. I'm not.
No, I'm not either. I mean, I believe that it's a cult at best. I really think it's just a corporation, to be honest with you.
No, I agree.
I mean, and Mormons to me aren't quite a religion either. Just in my view.
Well, you know what? I don't say that because...
1 second, that's what Remy said, too, is that she said that it's very much a corporation. That's why the celebrity aspect is so important, because they use celebrity to help push it and sell it.
No, you know, people. And I know, and you know, Mormonism's not the topic, and I don't want to, you know, digress too much into it. But not all Mormons are fundamental Mormons. They're really not. Most Mormons are.
No, they're called Jack Mormons. That means you were raised Mormon, but yet you're not you're not considered a Mormon.
Yeah, but
because that's another thing about the two whatever we're calling these. They put you have to earn a certain level of respect. You know,
right?
And
But most
you get
Mormons,
labels in that.
I know, but Kyle, most Mormons do not believe in polygamy. Are not fundamental.
Right,
Mormons.
absolutely.
Most Mormons are.
No, they've changed.
Are
they've changed with time. Some of the nicest people I've met in my life have been Mormons.
Yeah,
I've had missionaries at my house doing stuff over the years, and they've been fantastic people. I mean, genuinely good people, but they were like from some country in the middle of the Pacific, and
Yeah. Did you ever see the South Park Mormon episode?
I did not. I've seen parts of the Scientology one that got Isaac Hayes all butthurt and made him leave the show.
Oh yeah, the Tom Cruise one.
Yeah. Because I mean,
Isaac
Hayes had no problem.
Isn't he?
Yes, he is. That's why he left South Park.
He was. Yeah. He's dead now.
Oh yeah, he's dead now. But no, then he still is. He still owes a contract to the Sea Org for another billion years.
Yeah.
Well, a little less than a billion years.
Yeah.
Like
there's another person on that show that was this Scientologist.
Was there?
I thought so.
The girl does the voice of Bart Simpson as
Yes,
a Scientologist, which we have spoken on this show about some of the strange Simpsons predictions and some of the strange things the Simpsons have prophesized and some of the things they seem to know without knowing. And then there's links to Scientology of having, people hidden within the government leaking information back to Scientology.
They put people, they sent people to the IRS, FBI, they planted people just so they could gather information. I mean, that still goes on, I think.
Yeah, Operation Snow White. Yeah. It was called. 11 people were arrested, including L. Ron Hubbard's wife. Mm-hmm. Was that his second or third wife?
Who knows?
Oh, God.
I think it was actually his third. Because he was married three times, but he denied that the second one ever happened after he divorced the second one. He said that
was that the one he threatened to kill his daughter and all that good stuff.
I'm not sure, but I know that he pretended like wife number 2 didn't happen, but people know that it did. But I believe it was wife number 3 that was the one that was arrested, and L. Ron Hubbard was implicated in these crimes at the time. At the time, 11 people arrested total. Hubbard was implicated, but he was already in hiding at that point. He was really never seen again in public. He was off, probably on one of his boats, that's why the Sea Org originally started. And we'll talk more about the Sea Org, but that's why that originally started, was before they got the approval to be a church, got the IRS, approval to be a church. He would do all this stuff out on open water to avoid taxation. So still to this day,
or capture.
Yeah. Still to this day, the highest level secrets are only revealed on the boats. And the Apollo was the name of that first boat he had.
You have 3 of them.
Yeah, but that was the main one.
Do they even own a fleet anymore?
Yeah.
Do they?
Oh, yeah. A larger one, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, they, actually, I mean, people kind of even theorize that they kind of have their own, naval power. And almost like their own army, if you will. With the Sea Org, which makes them kind of dangerous. The Sea Org, let's break into that. Let's talk about that for a little bit if we could. I know we're skipping around a lot, but there's a lot to say. The Sea Org is basically the corporate side of the church. And I know that we've kind of said that we don't believe it's a church, but is what it is, though. As far as the United States of America is concerned, it is a religion, it is a church, and that's why they get the tax-exempt status, which saves them upwards of $20 million a year. But the Sea Org is basically the corporate side of all of this. And basically, it is kind of like a military, in essence. And this is when you sign up to join the Sea Org. This is what Kyle was talking about earlier, where you have to sign a contract for 1 billion years. You are basically put into servitude. You make about between $50 and $75 a week. You work between 17 and 20 hours a day. And you do whatever they say. You're either working on the ship or you're working in one of their off-level sites, or potentially you are one of the servants, if you will, to a lot of these big-time celebrities. Your Tom Cruise, your John Travolta, those guys working on, and John Travolta flies around in his big jet. That's not a one-man operation to fly around in a big jet. This isn't a little biplane. He flies around, and those people working on there, are Scientology.
Lower level Scientology.
Yeah, they're basically
followers.
indentured servants of Scientology, and that's all the hangers on that, the dozens and dozens of people that hang around with Tom Cruise and wait on him and do everything for him are making $75 a week and are members of the Sea Org in one.
Well, that's the thing too, is there's no restrictions, or there's no laws pertaining to how much you can pay these or how little you can pay these individuals,
because they're technically volunteers at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're working ungodly hours for next to nothing when it comes to pay.
When you're a member of the Sea Org, they frown upon marriage. You can get married, but you have to marry another member of the Sea Org. You are not supposed to have children when you are in the Sea Org, and if a woman gets pregnant, they claim that they force an abortion.
Mm-hmm.
Some places say they force abortion or adoption. I found more that say they force abortion of the baby if you become pregnant while a member of the Sea Org.
They probably have their own doctors.
Yeah, if you do have children beforehand, those children are not then going to be raised by you. They're going to be raised by other members of Scientology. And often those children are then, if you have contact with them at all, they are used as spies by Scientology to make sure that mom and dad aren't saying something that's not quite what Scientologists are supposed to be saying behind closed doors.
Well, that goes to another basis of Scientology and I know Leah Remy, when she was kind of revealing all this stuff, that the way that they treat children in family life, which is kind of funny because I was watching one of their videos, before we started tonight, and they really push the family aspect of it, which Leah Remy says is totally not the case, especially considering their belief structure. Whereas these Thetans, they're like, well, that your mom here is just one of your moms. You've had many moms throughout, your Thetan's existence. So, your attachment that you have to her is, one of many attachments that you've had throughout your Thetan's existence. Yeah, they downplay that relationship, and I'm sure this boils down to more of that essence of control that they're trying
vulnerability. You create vulnerabilities.
Yeah, that they're trying to gain. Start at a young age, Kyle.
Yeah.
If we can,
you're making very insecure people.
Exactly. If we can detach that relationship between mom and child, or dad and child, or mom and dad and child, and make it so we are their attachment, then that just gives us that much more an advantage.
If one member of the family decides that they do not like Scientology, want to leave Scientology, or even just wish to speak against Scientology, they are labeled as a suppressive person. And a suppressive person is basically anyone that doesn't believe and doesn't follow every aspect of Scientology to a T. When a person is suppressive, you must disconnect from that person.
Forever.
Yeah, forever.
Yep.
You are never to speak to them again.
Crimes against the church, I believe that was one of the...
Yeah, you can... There are possibilities for a suppressive person to become labeled, to be labeled as part of the church again, but it's basically you have to start over and do everything.
Highly unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, you have to come back on your hands and knees and join the Sea Org again. Yeah, and do something, incredible. And then you're just back to like the lonely peon, back on the Sea Org, scrubbing floors and cleaning stuff with cleaning toilets with toothbrushes for 17 hours a day. Another thing that is kind of weird, a little kind of crazy little anecdote was, and this falls back to them being handcuffed by L. Ron Hubbard's weirdness, is that L. Ron Hubbard had some strange ideas about like cleaning products and how to clean stuff. He has
another bad childhood memory.
Like he actually believes that the only way to like clean a window is with vinegar. you can't ever use like Windex or anything.
Right.
So because of that, they're always having to like clean everything with vinegar and with these things that were like L. Ron Hubbard approved, that they have to know in their hearts this is not the best way to clean this thing if they've lived any life before this. But you can't. L. Ron Hubbard said that specifically. You can't go against that. So they're, forced to like just like really weird methods
So
of
Josh
cleaning.
just supported our cult theory. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Hey, I said it was a cult when we first started, man. That's what, Adam, you brought up Leah Remini, and I do want to mention one more thing about her. The thing that I absolutely love most about watching Leah Remini, and she's really trying hard. She's really exposing all of all this stuff, and she's putting herself out there big time. I actually kind of feel like the reason she made sure to do this show is to make it super public.
Oh, absolutely.
So it won't.
I believe that 100%.
Yeah, but the main thing that I think makes it so great to watch her is that, am I alone in thinking she's like the hottest chick on the planet?
Okay. She's attractive, but
Oh my God.
you can have her, man.
Oh really? Oh man, I just like watching her because she is so freaking hot.
She number 3.
No.
No.
Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah.
She's good looking.
She's hot.
She's
yeah.
attractive, but
I
I'm
mean,
just saying.
Dude, she was Stacey Carosi from Saved by the Bell
Yeah.
back in the day. I've been in love with that chick since I was like 11.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember Saved by the Bell? The after.
She's
I mean,
such a bitch in that.
But she always plays a bitch. Is she never?
Yeah.
she probably is one. She probably.
I think
is
she is kind of bitchy.
Yeah, she seems like it.
Yeah.
She seems like it.
I wouldn't cross her path. No.
Yeah, but I'd cross her path.
Oh,
already.
you could, Josh. There you go. Everyone has their woman. Now we know yours.
Yeah, no, she is super hot. Actually, another super hot
Terry Hatcher?
Scientologist.
Oh, my.
No, Terry Hatcher is super hot. But another super hot Scientologist is Kelly Preston. I mean,
is that John Travolta's wife?
yeah,
Yeah.
she's gorgeous.
What about Juliette Lewis?
No,
I don't think she is Scientologist anymore, is she?
I don't know.
no,
I mean, last I checked, she was.
Elizabeth Moss is. It's
Yes.
popular. You
Yep.
know, just won a Golden Globe last night.
yes, she
The
did.
other night.
No, she did for sure.
She's a great actress, but yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
not hot.
Yeah,
Not hot.
definitely not hot.
Yeah.
Definitely hot.
Kelly Preston and For Love of the Game. Man,
Well,
she's
Kelly
gorgeous.
Preston, I like her because she's pretty much a virgin now, right? With
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Yeah, so
Good point. Yeah.
you got yourself, there's not many miles on that tank.
No, Travolta's not interested in her. She's not a big hairy masseuse with big strong hands.
Okay, moving on.
But I guess we could talk a little bit about that. Some of the, very popular movie stars and musicians who are
Yeah.
big-time Scientologists, and this is a part of it. And Leah Remini has said, when they say, "Oh, why would Tom Cruise stay in Scientology after all this?" She says, "You don't understand what the celebrity in Scientology does. It's so different than the other Scientologists."
Well, they created a whole organization just for celebrities down in Florida.
Right.
Yeah.
And basically they have their own servants. Like we talked about a little bit ago with the, on Travolta's plane and for, Tom Cruise's parties. These are basically Scientology indentured servants that work for these people for pretty much free and just do their bidding. And, and if Tom Cruise says he wants something, you just get it because they're so submissive. They're so into this idea, this church, that you don't ever say no. Even if what they just asked for is impossible, you just make it happen some way, somehow.
So they're indebted.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And they basically make between $50 and $75 a week, and that's just what they do. Tom Cruise definitely, he's probably the most popular Scientologist.
They refer to him as the Messiah sometimes of Scientology.
I think he wants to take over for David.
He might.
Yeah, I think he will be the next.
You think so?
Well, David's pretty young too, though, so I don't know.
Yeah, I just
I'm wondering if there's gonna be like a power struggle or something at some
Well,
point.
I think there's going to be. You nailed it earlier. There are going to be splinter fractions that might develop,
And start following Cruz.
Yeah, because I mean, let's face it, it's a good moneymaker. Come on.
Come on, he was.
There is a site out there.
He was in Days of Thunder.
Cool
Trickle.
Cool Trickle, for God's sake. I mean, he's not happy if he's
Not going. What's the line from Top Gun though? You know you won't be happy unless you're going Mach 5 with your hair on fire.
What a great webpage to look at if you want to really dig deep into this stuff is Clambake Scientology, and it's the guy will be the first one to tell you that this is. I am biased. I am anti-Scientology, and this is what I know and what I found and what I can prove and everything else. But I just read an article on there this afternoon, actually, not written by the proprietor of the site, but written by somebody else, that he was making the claim that he really believes that Scientology is on its way out, that they don't have the numbers or the money to sustain this.
I've heard that rumor too, that they inflating their attendee or
it's smoke and mirrors.
Members, and just to get
they claim to have members. What did you say, Ed? Something about don't they claim like 10 million or something?
Yeah, I think it was 10 million.
Yeah,
there's no way.
And then some people are saying no, there's no way it's even 1 million. But then there's other claims that their numbers are really more like 25 or 30,000, and that's really it. There really isn't anywhere near as many people.
Well, again, let's rationalize this. What's a large corporation, right?
Yeah,
that's a large corporation.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's 30,000 is not isn't nothing.
The Mormons aren't even. What is the Mormon? I don't know what their membership is.
Well, it depends on if you're talking about
I'm just saying they're probably similar.
A fundamentalist, or
I'm talking the guys out in Salt Lake. Not the Jeffers clan, the other one, the legit ones.
I know that the Mormons a few years ago cited that they did now have more international members than American members.
I believe that.
Yeah,
as of December 31st, 2016, Mormon membership, according to LDS, was at just a little under 16 million.
That's pretty big.
That's pretty big, yeah.
And those numbers are probably legit, unlike Scientology's, which
well, they have to be for well, maybe not, but they're a business too, just like the Catholic Church, right?
You got to keep the lights on, man. Everything's business.
That's true.
Come on.
I mean,
I'm not even gonna criticize them for that.
But whether it's Scientology or the Mormons or anybody else, you got to keep the lights on.
But even so, I mean, Catholic Church nowadays, I mean, it's
diminished.
I mean, you don't have to pay a shit ton of money in order to get into heaven.
There's no tithing.
I mean, that's one of the
that's one
of the reasons why the
Josh, I'm shocked you don't take your 15% and drop it off at the church on your way home.
Nope. No, not for Catholics. A lot of Protestant faiths do that, and I'm not criticizing them for that. But Catholics do not have a tithing. They pass a basket around, and you throw in something if you want. But you can be a
that's why there was
devout member of a Catholic church and never reach for your wallet one time, if you want.
Well, that's why there was the break. I mean, that was one of the reasons why Martin Luther led the Reformation, is because he went to the Vatican, and basically one of the things he saw were the church trying to sell basically land in heaven.
Sure.
And I mean, that's not the case anymore, but for Scientology, I mean, obviously the more money you spend, the closer you're going to get to achieving
the pearly gates. Yep.
Yeah. So
OT8.
Yep.
Becoming a thief and meeting Xenu. All that stuff.
Xenu.
Yep, Xenu. We said it. We're not supposed to be saying Xenu.
It's Xenu or Zimu.
It's either one.
I know.
It's usually Xenu.
That's what I'm saying.
But
it's either.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It can be either one. Do you know one thing I thought was kind of funny that I thought like, wow, maybe some of the Scientologists kind of maybe regular people, maybe they have a sense of humor to them anyway. At least is just here. When Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise had their split up. Which was a lot about Scientology. Nicole Kidman became this like kind of poster child even before Leah Remini as like she left Scientology, she knew it was crap. Nicole Kidman got a lot higher up the ranks of Scientology than a lot of people, than she likes to admit now. I want to say she was OT3 at least.
Mm-hmm.
And but she left, and a lot of it was because she said anyway later because of her she was a devout Catholic, born and raised, and they always told her that, oh no, that doesn't matter, you can still be that, until then all of a sudden it wasn't okay, and she was like, no, I'm out. And plus she was probably sick of Tom Cruise and his little dwarf isms,
Much like Katie Holmes.
yeah, exactly. So, but when in between Nicole Kidman and Katie Holmes, basically Scientology had this like huge program where we have to find Tom Cruise's new wife, and they basically went out and courted all the found the prettiest and the most successful and the just the perfect wife for Tom Cruise. But what I thought was funny, because they always have these like project names and missions and stuff, and the names for all of their like secret things, but their mission for trying to find Tom Cruise a date was called Mission Should Be Very Possible. I thought that was actually kind of funny, because it's like, come on, how hard is it to find Tom Cruise a date?
Right.
He's Tom Cruise. He's only like the best looking movie star of all time. But that was, his mission should be very possible.
That's pretty good.
And they did eventually, and because remember, there's Penelope Cruz was in there for a minute, and then there was that other crazy there was some other foreign supermodel.
What happened in Tom Cruise's life that he would make him do this? I mean, what was missing? You guys doing notes or research on that guy? Because I think he got attracted to it for something.
I actually think he just got attracted to it because it was the thing to do for Hollywood.
And wanted to be, well, maybe he was feeding his narcissist.
And they have, Tom Cruise never had to do all this stuff that sucks. Tom Cruise was brought in as a celebrity. He was treated like a king from day one.
Right.
And he got the fast track to OT8. Most of us, we would join Scientology. If we joined right now, they'd welcome us with open arms. They'd start, teaching us everything. They'd show us all this cool stuff. But we would probably never make that level.
That's right.
We would never get there.
Yeah, and that's...
Even if you had some cash, maybe you got a little bit of cash, but us in this room, even if we started at age 20 and became devout Scientologists and had a little bit of cash to throw at this stuff and put all our money into it, we'd never make OT8. You gotta be, that's reserved for the people that they want in power with that.
I'm kind of looking at it. Look, I mean, obviously Scientology was around well before Tom Cruise got into it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And Tom Cruise saw it as something as kind of like the flavor of the week, flavor of the month, kind of like, like the Atkins diet or Pilates or something like that. He gets involved in it, and all of a sudden the quote unquote church is like, wow, you know what? Kind of going back to Leah Remini's whole notion of trying to get celebrity to push the business.
Mm-hmm.
They suck up to Tom Cruise. Wow, that's great. We'll give you anything you want. And if you're Tom Cruise, you already have a bunch of stuff. Hey, I got more of it in this location.
Yeah,
right
but they were
here.
giving him something that I think that he was missing in his personal.
He could have.
I think he needed a little self-love there, man.
He very well, perhaps. I think that's more attractive.
So what I'm saying, something attracted him there.
No, and I think.
And then once he was there, he was hooked. Yeah,
sure. And I think the attraction to him though was the extra power that he has gained from being part of something like this. I think the aspect of something missing may be more attractive to somebody on our level, sitting in this room right now, where we're searching for something that is missing in our lives.
I agree.
I don't know if Tom Cruise was necessarily missing anything in his life. He may have thought he was at a certain point to kind of make him try out this new flavor of the month.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what he was missing.
But also,
maybe. I guess I'm looking at it from a different angle.
He was missing the celebrity aspect of people bowing
Perhaps,
down.
Yes, you're correct, Kyle. But ultimately,
don't forget too the how much Scientology is very well connected. These people do join Scientology, and then they start getting the better movie roles. They start getting the music contract. They start,
getting a lot of these connections.
Yeah, I don't know.
that-
I
that
mean,
you
like I
create.
said,
it does work for them a lot.
Well, these guys were savvy enough to infiltrate the FBI, the IRS, all these major institutions. Who knows?
And
You know,
that's
do you
the
think
thing,
they stopped doing it?
Too,
I doubt it.
we talked about how 11 people were arrested under Project Snow White, and that I don't know what's going on in the studio.
Oh, it's my lip balm.
You have CNN lip balm. It's fake lip balm. Yeah, it must be fake lip balm.
You want some, Ed?
Ed would rather his lips dried up and fell off of his face than use CNN lip balm. But I can't believe you even have that. I can't believe that exists.
You can't believe I don't have
No,
it?
I can't believe it exists.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of marveled by that myself.
Yeah, I didn't think there was a market for CNN lip balm. But John Travolta was a struggling actor, and he joined Scientology, and he was the hotness right after that.
Well, you know what? Phenomenon. That has a lot of aspects of dynamics in it. You know?
And but I mean, basically, he joined Scientology, and pretty much was in Saturday Night Fever. You know, very soon after that.
Is that how long ago it was?
Yeah, it was.
Well,
So he was in Scientology when Look Who's Talking came out?
Oh yeah,
Oh.
for sure. Imagine the conversations between
him and Chris Nally,
Scientologist John Travolta.
Isn't that weird? Chris Nally and him were in the same.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris Nally is a big time Scientologist.
Yeah.
I wonder if
And they claim that John Travolta turned around to it, and they also, this is a positive thing about Scientology, that Kirstie Alley talks about how Scientology got her off drugs. She was a huge cocaine addict.
There's a big program for that within
and
it.
yeah, they have their own program, and actually,
It's called Narco or
Yes.
something like
Yep.
that. Yeah.
and actually, Scientology's anti-drug program, numbers wise by percentage, is far more successful than most of the other ones.
Yeah.
You know, than Al-Anon, or what's the one? What's the AA version for? Is it NA, Narcotics Anonymous? Is
Yeah,
that- okay.
NA.
Yeah, that, I mean, it's like far more successful than that. And AA and NA are actually pretty successful ones
But
too,
again,
compared to other
again,
ones.
there comes a price tag for that service. But yes,
Sure.
if you pay, yeah, I think Leah Remini was in it, wasn't she?
I'm not sure.
No, I think you're right. Kirstie Alley was the one that was in it. Yeah.
Kirstie Alley definitely was. She had a
Yeah.
huge problem. Larry King asked her why they couldn't keep her from being fat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she was talking about her food addiction, and they're like, "Oh, I can't Scientology help you with that."
Yeah.
Larry King asked her that?
Yes, he did. It's a pretty funny clip, actually.
Wow. What year
And
was
she
that?
doesn't get mad. She's like, "Yeah, I don't know. I should ask."
Yeah,
somebody."
whatever. What happened to Kirstie Alley? She hasn't done anything in a long
Well,
time.
she got fat and old.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you supposed to do with that?
But did you see the fat girl
She's
in
still
Cheers?
funny as shit.
I really didn't see the fat girl in Cheers. Did you see it in her then? Back in the day?
No.
Yeah.
No, she didn't seem like she had like that.
So she must have really went into about a depression or something, you know.
Yeah, or she just gave up the coke and the booze and
Maybe.
and just turned it in for food,
Yeah, true. Got to feed something.
Yeah.
If it isn't one thing, it's another.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But hey, that kind of goes back to something you were saying earlier, Adam,
Mm-hmm.
about the aspects that can be turned on by this, and that's talking about our own opinions here a lot, but this is just kind of an opinion show here about this.
Well,
We've been very open about how we're not fans of Scientology, but this idea that Scientology is very anti-psychiatry and anti, because as most people know, the difference between psychiatry and psychology is what? Psychiatry will use drugs to help
Right.
you, and psychology is
Just words.
therapy, if in essence.
You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be a medical doctor to be a
Right.
psychologist.
And to be honest with you, I mean, to throw out my own opinion once more, the idea that you would be against psychiatry and against trying to fix a lot of these things with drugs is not something that I really disagree with.
No, it's...
I actually, and Ed, I think you probably kind of agree with that statement as well. I mean, that's not really something I disagree with. I'm not a big fan of psychiatry either. I'm also not a type of person that says no one on earth needs it. I'm not saying that. Some people...
I'm under the impression that different things for different people. I think different things work for different people.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Some psychiatry works for some people. Psychiatry doesn't work for other people.
I think the main point is you know, these guys create an environment where you open up and talk about it.
Sure.
You know, so you're medically healing yourself just by throwing it out there, because before it's all bottled up inside. You know, their method of treatment is get it out, which again, auditing comes back into the realm on their narcotic program, I'm sure. You know, because again, you're confessing your sins. What made you do that drug?
Right.
You know, and so that's what they're doing, and they focus on that. You know, so that's a positive thing.
And we haven't exactly
I can't disagree with it either.
You know, and we haven't exactly said what auditing is. Yeah, we've mentioned auditing, and auditing is a big part of Scientology. It's something that you're basically going to be doing at the onset of joining Scientology.
It's everything with Scientology.
Right, it is. And basically auditing is hooking yourself up to the E-meter, or the electropsychometer, and it is, like Kyle said, basically their version of confession. You are coming clean on everything. You're going to be, but unlike confession in like the Catholic Church per se, where the priest kind of sits and listens and just says, say whatever you want. You know,
your auditor,
they listen. Your auditor will ask you questions and will keep repeating the same questions over and over again to get the true
answer. And I'm understanding, I think they have several auditors based on the circumstance of when you require an audit.
Right. You will be in there. You know, an OT will be in there with a PC, which is what you are being audited. You're pre-clear.
Right.
You are not yet clear. And this
but even if you achieve the other levels, if you make a mistake, you still audit.
Yeah, you still have to.
That is their corrective measure.
Audit away your mistake. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is done as their version of therapy, and it's to extract the bad feelings and the bad emotions and the bad memories of your past. Some of the negative criticism about this is that it's recorded and that they claim that it's often used as blackmail.
Yeah.
They extract it for later use.
Right.
Well, and again, it creates that vulnerability. And, you know, what a shame, because these people really, I'm sure they're pouring their heart and soul out for their own purposes, and yet it's used against them at a later time. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's the criminality of this whole thing. And I think that's what's really motivated Leah and others, you know, not just her, to really say that enough is enough. You know what I mean? You guys are profiting on people's, you know, lowest moments. Shame on us for allowing it to happen.
One of the rumors was quite some time ago. Nowadays, we see John Travolta, and he seems to be very much on the Scientology bandwagon. I mean, does he not? I mean, he definitely is right up there with Tom Cruise as one of their spokesmen. But they claimed that he was considering leaving for a while there. And they then brought out his old auditing. Nice John Travolta. They then brought out some of his old auditing tapes and threatened to.
And then I went to National Enquirer, and then you saw all the tabloids.
Yeah, that this could get partially leaked, and supposedly a lot of these auditing were him breaking down, talking about his homosexual experiences, and you know.
Don't you think it almost has to be something more than that? Because it's not like it's bad to be gay in Hollywood nowadays.
Right.
Like, he could be seen as this hero if he comes out and sort of takes on the church and, oh, by the way, I'm gay, and like, you could almost see people like celebrating him for that.
Now, yes, maybe he feels like. I mean, I don't know that maybe in Tom Cruise's mind he's thinking, man, if this would have just happened, if that happened 20 years later, I would have just said, screw you, I'm gay, and come out and tried to do what Kevin Spacey attempted to do. Like Kevin Spacey was
everybody knew he was gay.
Yeah, but he basically was outed as a sexual predator and said, hey, but I'm gay, everybody, so love me.
Right.
You know, and it didn't work for him. But that was what he was trying to attempt, was like maybe if I tell everybody I'm gay, then I'll get, like, you know, media sympathy, or I'll get, you know.
No, I think John Travolta's, whether it be gay or other things, I think he is being blackmailed, you know, by them.
I think he was. Now I think he's just on board with it, because I think they're giving him all the perks, and he's loving life, and he's a zillionaire, and you know, I think he's just digging it the same way Tom Cruise does. You know, they're giving him everything. So I think, but hey, remember though, for quite a while there, John Travolta was kind of a nobody again. You know, he's huge in the 70s, or when you know, Saturday Night Fever era. He's huge.
Welcome back, Carter.
Yeah, and he's also Pulp Fiction was his big comeback, which was a independent film, technically. That was his big comeback, and then now all of a sudden, now he did Phenomenon and Broken Arrow and all, you know, all this stuff, and then he was a movie star again.
He was a big movie star and he's back and everything. But John Travolta had a big lull there where he was kind of nobody wanted anything to do with him, and I think that's when he was looking to. I want to get out of Scientology. I want to get away from all this junk. And
don't forget your favorite Face Off.
Yes, Face Off, worst movie ever made. Yep.
Anyhow,
I can eat a peach
For
hours.
God, that movie is so dumb. I loathe that movie. I hate it with a loathing passion, actually. I do. I just hated that goddamn movie.
So what's your point? So when he was trying to leave, then what? Do you think they just dug up dirt on him? And...
I think they did. Yeah, I think they did, and I think he stuck around. And now I think he's just loving it. And...
I just think he's not fighting no more. He don't care.
And for whatever reason, he definitely didn't want to be outed as gay. For whatever reason, because he has been outed as gay, and he just really, he's got his beard. He doesn't, he won't fess up to it. Basically, even though how many masseuses got to come out and say like, "Oh yeah, he's gay, trust me." But also Travolta is supposedly some of the dirt with that, and this kind of goes back to some of the, Harvey Weinstein-esque things that have been revealed of late, and some of the sexual deviance that has gone on, is that John Travolta claims that he was not gay, and that he was basically kind of forced to be gay by a bunch of creepy old dudes who thought he was a cute little piece of, dude ass, basically. And then he kind of realized, like, this is kind of cool, I kind of like it. But he claims in some of his, very, the one masseuse that came out that talked to the Inquirer said that guy pulled him aside, and Travolta was like, no, come on, you're gonna do this, you're gonna come back with me, we're gonna hook up. And he's like, no, I'm not gay, man, I'm not. And he's like, hey, I wasn't gay at first either. He's like, trust me, give it a shot, I bet you'll like it. He's like, I wasn't gay. He's like, they made me do all kinds of stuff when I was younger. I hated it at first, but he's like, trust me, you'll like this. He's like, do this with me, and I got because he claimed there's more than one occasion where people claim that, like, hey, do this with me, and I can hook you up with, and he would name like some kind of like.
And I can see him totally doing that.
Yeah, like he would say, like, hey, listen, if you have seen this movie with this young chick, like, listen, I heard she wants to be in a threesome, 3 of us tomorrow, but tonight it's me and you.
No, yeah, and there's too many things. I think Corey Haim kind of died because of it. Corey Feldman, I think there's not that he's a whack job, but I think there's some truth in his assaults. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some of the other young actors that are and you know what? If you're a young male actor, will you say anything? Hell no. You know what I mean? So there's a lot that were abused that are not saying anything. So I think there's some legitimacy to the argument there, Josh.
No, I mean it's.
So
who I actually got a lot of that information from was local radio here, Drew and Mike. Talked about this a lot and had a lot of the old manuscripts. These are court manuscripts that I'm, kind of quoting here, or paraphrasing, not quoting. I do not have them in front of me, but these are, kind of things said about Travolta. So you can see where maybe he had some mental strife in there, and when his career had fallen apart in essence. Because he was this, like, kind of cool, trendy guy in the disco era, and Welcome Back, Kotter, like you said, Kyle, and this was, he was cool, but that cool wasn't there anymore. That wasn't trendy anymore. Disco was dead, and, because, Travolta was a singer, too. He's actually got a pretty awesome voice. He's, in Grease and all that stuff,
Grease was huge.
Yeah, but the, that look wasn't cool anymore for a minute. Yeah. And he was viewed as, disco was dead. Disco died quick. But then he came back.
Do we know the net worth of Scientology? Does it list it in Wikipedia or anything?
I'll see if I can find it.
The only thing I found, and I think you had stepped out for a minute, Kyle, when I said this, was that they said that they save upwards of $20 million a year for being tax exempt. Okay. No, that's what they save for their tax-exempt status.
So that was...
See, Business Insider 1 week after RadarOnline.com's explosive report on never-before-seen Scientology tax documents, still more forms have emerged that paint a picture of just how wealthy the controversial organization is. According to the documents, only 2 of its many offshoot organizations are worth more than $1.2 billion combined.
It's not bad.
No, not at all.
No, they actually, they have just, I mean, they have compound after compound after compound, and obviously that small naval fleet. They also have in one of their compounds as well. They have it stocked full of food for when they believe L. Ron Hubbard will return.
Because he'll be really hungry.
Well, he'll be really hungry. Well, they have it stacked.
And again, going back to the similarities between Mormonism, what do?
Yeah,
closet full of food. That's what I'm saying. Who stole what from who? I don't know, but it seems to be a similar path to their existence.
But again,
or is it just a religion in general? Is that what happens?
But I think religion in general. I mean, you're
not going to church, and they're not having. Make sure you make your cellar now.
I mean, stealing and borrowing or whatever it is you want to call it, stories from. I mean, obviously, the flood story's been told in other religions prior to Christianity. Sure. You know what I kind of see Scientology as, though, and I kind of see it as the Reform Party, Josh.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, the Reform Party, it died out because Ross Perot was no longer a thing in politics, and that's all the Reform Party was a drawback to Ross Perot, whereas the GOP, the Democratic Party, there's more to it than just one person. It's an ideology. Scientology, I mean, it really just goes back to a science fiction writer.
Yeah,
in L. Ron Hubbard. I mean, that's in essence.
As more information becomes available, it's just impossible for that to survive. I don't see it surviving either. Just because, again, people are going to see there's too much negative press on it. It's going to lose. It's the flavor of the day that's going to die.
Ultimately, I think it'll die too. But it's a flavor of the month that's been around for
over 100 years, or 50 years now.
Yeah, for quite some time.
68 years now.
So I mean, who knows?
But again, 68 versus what? 1,000 years of all the other religions,
Yeah, that's very true.
So I don't think it hasn't stood the test of time yet. Even the Mormons aren't that old. They're over 100 years old, maybe. I think they're 1800s or something.
Joseph Smith looked into the hat.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying. That's what I'm saying. Is this an offshoot of Mormonism? With a scientific.
I don't see it as that. I really don't.
Flair.
I think you've made some valid comparisons, Cal. I don't really see them as offshoots of each other. I mean, because you could all of these. Most cults start the same way Scientology started.
No, what I'm saying this is the bastardized version of Mormonism. Scientology.
Yeah, I mean,
having the same structures and report structures and the same infrastructure. Essentially.
I think it just goes back to a lot of the same premises that religions take when
they're trying to become something.
When they take certain aspects of other religions and implement it into their own.
See, I view Mormonism. I link it a lot to Islam, and the reason I do that is because, I guess like Christianity is basically like the original trilogy of Star Wars, and then Mormonism is like the Legends or the EU, and Islam is the sequel trilogy. They're both like separate sequels to the Bible that don't acknowledge each other and don't make sense if you compare them to each other.
No, yeah.
But so basically, like the Bible is the Star Wars
trilogy. They're all part of the same thing.
Yeah,
both
like
from
what
different perspectives.
Yeah, like is what George Lucas said.
Well, it all goes back to George Lucas then.
Right. Yeah. Basically. Yeah. And then kind of like like that. What's the movie with Van Damme and Universal Soldier? There's two Universal Soldier 2s that like just disavow each other. Like they made a Universal Soldier 2 and they're like, God, that movie sucked. So they just made a different Universal Soldier 2.
And that sucked too?
Yeah, it did. Well, the original one sucked. So it was just kind of, is what it is. But, they're like, oh, the last one didn't even have, Van Damme. What's his name? The dude. Dolph Lundgren. Like, it didn't even have them both in it. Yeah, and then like, this one will be better.
Hey Josh, any reason why George Lucas didn't pursue the Jedi as a mainstream kind of religion?
Because I think he knew that he was a science fiction writer, and actually was is a sane person,
and
Well,
never.
there's a lot of spiritual aspects in Star Wars.
There is.
You know
There's
what I
more
mean?
money in toys.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But again, so I mean, there's spiritual. That's we've already agreed. Even Dianetics has some spiritual aspects. Affiliated.
Oh,
with
for
it, too.
sure, for sure. I mean, the
Yeah.
Thetans are very. Who would win in a fight, a Jedi or a Thetan?
That's a good point.
A Jedi or a Thetan?
Yeah,
It'd have to be a multiple of Thetans, right?
yeah.
See, I don't-
I mean, well, okay,
I don't pretend to understand the Thetans.
I don't think it's no. I think the fight you're looking for is Force Ghost Yoda or Thetan.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
that's-
So maybe like, okay, okay. How about just Yoda, not Ghost Yoda, just Yoda versus Xenu?
Yoda versus Xenu.
Yeah, sabers with Og.
Dude, I'm going with Yoda.
Yeah, I'm like,
I mean, if he
I'm like
does-
the little green guy, man.
Yeah, I mean, especially if he's got his lightsaber, then I'm gonna go Yoda.
Fuck Xenu, man.
Force
I gotta-
powers
Xenu.
alone.
Xenu's all.
Ron Hubbard will just invent some powers that are better than Yoda.
Yeah, and that's true because even if George Lucas invents something better, J.J. Abrams will just wreck it.
But it'd be interesting to know if he was the first one to write about the hydrogen bomb in a piece of fiction. You know what I mean? Because you remember it just occurred in the 40s. Not that long ago.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was
maybe.
taboo not to talk about it for a long time.
Yeah, you know what? I bet the sci-fi authors are going crazy with H bombs at that point. And they are. The minute a technology comes out. they're talking about the next
Think back
great
to
thing.
their time though. They had no idea what it even was because it wasn't. It was just reported in papers.
Mhm.
They came across boats. So it was a lot of hearsay. Them describing
Right.
these events of what they are. I don't think anybody back at the time even understood the horrific damage that it even caused.
Well, and that's what's
know?
funny is that I mean, he's saying H bomb, he's saying hydrogen bomb because it's 1952,
Right.
and that's like the hotness right then. So the
Right.
idea that like, oh yeah,
Right.
I guess that they were living on Tigiak, and it really was exactly like the 50s. Then I guess they got hydrogen bombs now.
I know it's just ironic.
Although they have Xenu, and he's a galactic overlord.
Yes,
so.
so there's where you went deep on that.
Right.
See, the fight you gotta see is Emperor Palpatine or Xenu.
Okay. Does Palpatine have a lightsaber?
Of course he does.
Does it have augmentation?
Okay.
And he can use Force Lightning. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Does he have his Royal Guards with him?
No.
No. I'll say Palpatine.
Palpatine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go with Palpatine.
Yeah.
Still going to Xenu.
You're going Xenu?
He was a bastard too, though.
You guys are just a bunch of SPs.
Yeah. You might be right. You might be right. Another aspect I thought was cool. I watched a couple spiritual channels. Where religious people were talking about Scientology. Christian religious people were talking about Scientology. And I know whenever Ed and I are on a show together, we always seem to kind of like to tap into this a little bit. And we're running a little, we're running long, so we're going to wrap it up here soon. But there are a lot of people that believe L. Ron Hubbard to be an antichrist. Actually, and if you, especially, you know what, I was going to have this open up, but I don't. If you look at 1 John, chapter 2, verse 22, it basically goes into when
What is it, John? What?
1 John, 1 John 2, 22. When you are going into that, it talks about somebody that downgrades Jesus Christ, or that talks about the downgrading of Jesus Christ as being an antichrist and what they will create. What will be created from those, from those ideas.
Who is the liar? It is whoever denies that Jesus is the Christ. Such a person is the Antichrist, denying the Father and the Son.
And that's what he did by, saying that, Jesus was a shade above clear.
Well, and the way they treated people, I mean, just the moral aspect of that, it's horrible. You know what I mean? They did not uplift and bring people up. They tore them down to expose their vulnerabilities for control. I mean, so they had an ulterior motive there. And so how can you put that in a category
Right.
other than Antichrist.
Right, and the
You know what I
monetary
mean?
aspects of them building their empire, the idea of the touch assist,
Yeah.
the idea, because basically a Christian believes that, Christians certainly believe that your soul leaves your body. Your soul's part of your body. Your soul is you. There isn't a soul that's inside your body that is controlling you. It is controlling you because it is you. It's part of you.
Yeah.
You know, it's part of you. But that is an aspect of the occult when you talk about the soul being separate from you. In other words, you know, it's a possession to some degree.
Right.
And it's in you. It can be removed. It can be put back in. It can be controlled. It can control you. These are aspects of the occult. These are aspects of Luciferianism, really.
Mm-hmm.
So on that note, L. Ron Hubbard actually has a connection with Aleister Crowley.
He does.
That he lived with Jack Parsons, who was essentially an occultist and follower of, was it the OTO that Crowley was a part of, and he worked on the Babylon working, which was a sex magic ritual with
Hubbard had some sex problems. There's no question about it.
Yeah, and that's
He was
Aleister Crowley
a big
huge into
perv.
that too.
Yeah.
And we talked about that in our Nazi occultism.
Well,
show.
looking as ugly as he was, not, you know, God rest his soul, whatever. But yeah, dude, yeah, he had to do
Xenu rest
something.
his soul.
Yeah, he had to do something. You know what I mean? If that's dominating women to have his, you know, moment, whatever. But I think he's like that.
No, and Ed, you are right though too. There is, he definitely has some not direct connections, but some good connections to Luciferianism, to the occult, and to Satanism.
Well, there's a cult
in like the 30s and 40s.
You're talking about Hubbard.
Hubbard, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Scientology is this huge occult written all over it, you know.
Right.
And, you know, but again, they throw that area, the area of, you know, the self-love stuff, and, you know, they mix it,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And that's what confuses people, because some people look on the outside and go, oh, that's kind of cool, but then, wait a minute, you have to pay money for that, you got to do this, you got to do that, all right, never mind, see you, bye. You know.
We threw a lot of info out there for you tonight about Scientology. There's a ton out there. There really is. Yeah. And I was going to say this at the beginning of the show. I hope that people don't feel like we kind of jumped on the bandwagon late with Scientology here, because I realize that Leah Remini's out there everywhere. She's got a legit show on TV talking about this stuff. And YouTube especially is brimming with this stuff. And it's brimming with quality stuff, actually. I mean, a lot of the stuff on YouTube, I love YouTube and conspiracy shows and all that stuff, but a lot of it is, some of it's pretty crazy. But there's some good stuff on the internet out there. Like I said, check out that Clam Bake Scientology website. There's some great YouTube videos out there of firsthand knowledge of people talking about this stuff. And again, Leah Remini's show is it's good stuff, you know? So it's out there. I hope people don't feel like, oh, we're just kind of jumping on this bandwagon and saying stuff that you maybe already knew. And if, you know, you felt that, you know, we apologize. But we've been wanting to do this show for a while.
Xenu?
Oh! Nice.
I got Ed liked it.
Yeah, that was good.
I liked it.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff, man. Good stuff. Joke of the night. And we apologize for not coming up with any, maybe we don't apologize for not coming up with any good, like, 69 jokes, since this was episode 69. But we're just, I guess we're just too mature for our own good here at the Xcast. Yeah, right. But we are done with our Scientology episode. We are going to go around and, final thoughts from everybody. Just basically, let's, I guess, wrap it up with just the basics. And we've kind of already answered this, but, Scientology, is this a religion? Is it a cult? Is it something else? Kyle, what do you think?
It's definitely a cult. At the same time, you know, again, there's aspects of it that, you know, that might be positive for some people. You know, I always encourage people, you know, look at everything, read it, make your own decision. That's what you got to do. And, you know, and so again, there's aspects of Scientology that are I like. But then you look at the big package, you go, this is a cult. This is danger, warning, walk away. You know, and so that's my final thoughts. But again, I encourage people just to go out there and think and make their own decision. You know.
Well put. Adam, what do you think?
You know, I hesitate to call it a cult. I tend to think that cults tend to rely more so on the faith aspect more so than the monetary aspect, and I think Scientology is strictly on the side of monetary gain. So that's why I hesitate to fully call it a cult. I mean, there's cult aspects of it.
Well, I
for
think
sure.
they use that to support their corporate enterprise. You're right; it is a corporate enterprise.
Yeah, and ultimately, though, I don't think that the people at the top of it are in it for the right reasons. I think the beginnings of it are kind of scamish and not on good footing. I do think there are some good aspects to it, like I said before. I think the mind and body stuff. I think that's something that people have been in tune with without Scientology for a very, very long time now. I don't think you necessarily need Scientology to divulge yourself into something like that. But ultimately, though, it's a Ponzi scheme. That's what it is.
Right.
It's a different type of Ponzi scheme. So
yeah. Ed, what you got?
It's a giant money grab. Although it does kind of, from the religion aspect, most of the members are very likely people who are actually born into it. Their parents, their second, third generation.
Yeah.
And how is that any different than most of the world's religions, where people are born into it and don't question their thoughts and they just kind of accept it? You know, your religion is very likely, it's highly associated with where and when you were born, in a way. But it's, like Adam said, it's a giant Ponzi scheme. It's there to make money for the most part, and the few people at the top are reaping the benefits of everybody else.
The thing is, too, is you don't want to. I mean, like you were saying earlier, Josh. I mean, everything is a business in a sense. I mean, but to the extent that Scientology goes, that's one of the biggest all-encompassing problems with it.
It's more obvious, I think, with
Sure,
Scientology.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, without a doubt.
Well, like I said, we make comparison to Mormonism. You don't feel this with Mormons. You know what I mean?
No,
You know, the scam nature of it. But I think who knows if it's the same?
Well,
because you give a lot away in a Mormonism
I think that's one of the big difference between when it comes to Mormonism or other sects of Christianity, even some of the more offshoot sects like a Jehovah's Witness. It's not obviously to the extent, and like you said, Ed, it's much more obvious in Scientology when it comes to the financial gain that they're looking for.
They went too far.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I struggle with comparing Scientology to legit religions, even ones that I think are a little strange, like Mormonism. Just some aspects of Mormonism. I actually kind of like Mormonism to the non, the regular Mormons, if you will. But the one that we didn't make, the comparison we never did make, and I feel bad comparing it to things because I feel like that's a criticism of something just to get compared to Scientology. But the Amish is one that we didn't talk about, and they're one of the ones that I can think of where you come to mind where you're raised in it as a family, but if you fall from it, somebody leaves it, you're never allowed to talk to them.
You're
again.
disgraced. Yeah.
You are, however, given an opportunity to, I think it's roughly when you become an adult, 18 or something like that, where you can basically go out into the world and see it once and make your decision of, hey, do you want to go out there and do that, or do you want to come back? So it's, in a way, it's not like a cult where you're completely trapped. Now, you might feel great social pressure not to do that, but you do at least get that option.
No, you do. You absolutely do. That you do have absolute freedom in it. It's just, but if you do choose, and it is your choice to make, if you do choose to not come back, then your family is not allowed to talk to you ever again. Right. Yeah, I don't have a problem calling it a cult. I kind of go with the Ponzi scheme a little bit more. I also kind of link this more to some of the secret societies we've talked about in other deep issues, more so than I do other religions. I have make more comparisons to Freemasonry. Things with the deep secrets, things like that, than I do with other religions, because I don't really view this too much as a religion. But the only other thing I will say is that, at the risk of sounding crass, the kind of the real bastard here, and I don't think we talked about him enough tonight, is David Muscovich here. This guy is
Muscovich.
Yeah, he's
a weasel.
He is a cult leader. He is. I really think this guy's
he's a bitch.
Yeah, I think he's a real bastard. I really do. And
he's evil.
Yeah, and
he's a narcissist. He's he's yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do put
I
a
think
lot of
that's Trump's nephew.
I do put a lot of the nastiness involved with it. I drop it right on his shoulders, and
No,
I don't
yeah,
mind
he's
doing that.
bad news. I agree.
But hey, that's basically all we have to say about Scientology. It's not all we have to say about Scientology, but all we have time to say about Scientology. But we do have to go to the pumpkin.
The
Go to
real
pumpkin.
spiritual leader of
Right. Yeah, you think Xenu is powerful. You haven't met Pumpkin. Pumpkin is the revealer of the next deep issues, of all the deep issues. He controls what we deep issue about. So, without further ado, Adam, do the pumpkin ceremony.
It's like the cremation of care.
Yeah, it is kind of like the cremation of care ritual. Ed is reaching into Pumpkin as we speak. Adam is holding Pumpkin with his right hand. Ed is handing the piece of paper to Adam. Kyle is now reaching into Pumpkin. Kyle is now handing the piece of paper to Adam, and Adam is going to do his little mystical ritual here where he mixes them around in his hands and randomly decides which one is going to be our next Deep Issues cast.
Should we do it like how they do it in the Catholic Church when they raise it up and then they?
I can sing if you'd like.
Should we make a ritual?
Yeah. Yeah. So the next Deep Issues will be at... When will the next Deep Issues be?
It's a fifth Tuesday, so January 30th.
Oh, okay. We will have a second Deep Issues this month. Awesome. Cool. So January 30th, our Deep Issue will be... Adam.
We have a sequel episode coming up.
Ooh.
This will be not the movie, but Alien 2.
Alien 2. All right.
Aliens 2.
Yes. Yes, I'm excited. Okay. We have done an Alien episode in the past. Hey, if you can, in the next couple of weeks, listen to it. Go back and listen to the last Alien episode. We will all try to go back and listen to the last Alien episode if we can. So we know what we're saying, and we're going to elaborate on what we've said in the past, and we're going to go in different directions as well. And then we also did, aside from our Alien episode in the past, we did the alternate dimension and stuff. So we've kind of covered this a little bit on some other ones, but we're going to dig back into it on January 30th. Please join us for that.
31st.
Is it the 31st?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it, Ed? What you got?
31st, huh?
Is that the 31st?
No, it's the 30th.
Oh,
Yeah, it's the
okay.
30th. Yeah. Now, Tuesday the 30th will be the next Deep Issues.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
Please tune in. It should be a good one. Aliens, this is one of our favorite topics, actually. So this will definitely be a good show. Before that, we got a couple other regular episodes of the X-Cast. So come join Adam and I next week for webisode number 70. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Appreciate it.